Commission meeting for November 12th, 2013 will come to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham?
Present.
Commissioner Galt?
Present.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Kaler?
Present. Tonight we have Reverend Richard Paxton here with us, and he's the deacon at Grace Episcopal Church. Welcome. He will do our invocation. And our Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be Terry Doss. She is a Paducah Tillman High School Student Council member. So welcome both of you.
Let us pray. Almighty God, who has given us this good city for our heritage, we humbly pray that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of your favor and glad to do your will. Bless our city with honorable industry, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, and from every evil way. Defend our liberties, and fashion us into one united people. Give the spirit of wisdom to the commissioners and to the mayor and to the good employees and volunteers of the city of Paducah. In the time of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in the day of trouble, may our trust in you never fail. All this we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to which republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight I have a proclamation that I would like to read. Whereas the local businesses of Paducah, downtown, and LowerTown, which have been in business for over 20 years, are vital to the economic health and local charm of Paducah. And whereas a city's downtown is a symbol of a community's economic health, local quality of life, pride, and community history, and a downtown area has an important and unique role in economic and social development by creating a critical mass of activities that facilitate business and social exchanges. And whereas the revenue generated and the jobs created by these businesses positively affect the quality of life for the residents of the city of Paducah. Whereas the city values its existing business community and commits to making every effort to retain that strong economic base. And whereas the national statistics show that starting a business is a risky venture, and more than 20% fail within the first year, and less than half reach 5 years of business. And whereas Paducah is proud to be the home of those downtown and LowerTown businesses that have thrived for over 20 years through hard work and dedication to their customers in the city of Paducah. And whereas Paducah recognizes that the dedication and entrepreneurial spirit of these downtown and LowerTown businesses is vital to our city's economic growth and prosperity, and applauds the efforts of the men and women who contribute to the growth and success. Now, therefore, I, Gail Kaler, Mayor of Paducah, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim November 12th, 2013 as Downtown and LowerTown Business Appreciation Day, and encourage all citizens to join in this special recognition. And this started as a result of a couple of downtown businesses that were celebrating their 20 years in business, and it made me wonder how many businesses did we have in downtown and LowerTown that had been in business for 20 years or longer. Upon searching out those businesses, we found that in fact there were 81. And I said, please forgive any human error if we have missed anyone, and if we have, please let us know. But 81 businesses in downtown and LowerTown from 20 years to 100 years. We had a breakfast this morning sponsored by Paducah Bank for those businesses. We had approximately 50 in attendance. It was good to have all those folks together and it shows that Paducah downtown is a vital, thriving business area. Contrary to what some may think, it really is a thriving business area. Can we do better? Absolutely. And that's what we're working toward, making downtown and LowerTown better, more business, more traffic, and a more thriving community. So we gave out awards to those folks that were there. We will be mailing the awards to the people that were not able to attend this morning. All of these are, I would say, entrepreneurial businesses, so they have to open their front doors. And so tonight we'd like to read the names of the people that receive these awards. We will not be giving the number of years, but just the names of those people. So do we start with you, Commissioner Abraham?
Yes. AAA Heating and Air, Allstate Insurance, Allen Music, American Harvest Antiques, Anthony Barnes Antiques and Collectibles, Bose 4th Street Shoe Repair, Bowley, Stouffer and Graves, Boswell, Sims and Vassar, ELLC, Bradshaw and Will, Bryant Law Center, Carneal and Priss, Central Photo, Charlotte Scott Attorney, Clayton Meeks and Bird CPAs, Comfort Zone and Sheila Gallerias, Containment Systems Inc. and Creatures of Habit.
Crounce Corporation, Curl Salon, Cynthia's, Deborah's, Denton and Corler, Dixie Leatherworks, Dr. Daniel Quinlan, Dr. Robert Gary, Fitzpatrick Hair Design, Fleur de Lis Antiques, Ground Floor Shoes, Hometown Decorating, Hooper's Outdoor Center, Hoskins Boswell Coin and Jewelry, Hausman and Associates, Italian Village Pizza, Jeremiah's Antique Mall and Annex.
Jim Harris, attorney. Jim Lindblad, attorney. John Reed, attorney. John Michaels Hairstyling in LowerTown. Kemper's CPA. Curly and Curly Attorneys. Kirchhoff's Bakery and Deli. Lindsay and Roth Funeral Home. Maiden Alley Cinema. Paducah Film Society. Market House Museum. Market House Theater. McMurray Livingston. Midwest Terminal. Mr. Penguin Tuxedo, Moffitt and Company, PLLC, and the National Quilt Museum.
P&L Railroad, Paducah Bank, Paducah Beauty School, Paducah Printing, Horizon Media Group, Paducah Radiator, Paducah Sheet Metal, Triangle Enterprises, Paducah Sun Newspaper, Paducah Symphony and Orchestra, Paducah Tint and Awning, Papa Gallery, Pebco, Phelps Farm Service, Pittsburgh Paints, Prudential Cirque and Company Realtors, Quilters Alley, Regions Bank, and Rue Henley Florist.
Rose Garden Florist, Saladino Oaks and Chaff, Second Time Around, Shelby Wheels and Tires, Sherry and Friends, Story Electric, The Chocolate Factory, The Golden Carrot, The Silver Bullet, Troy's Auto Service, U.S. Bank, Vanguard Contractors, Walden Denton State Farm Insurance, Walker Dental Labs, Western Rivers Insurance, Whalers Catch, Whitlow Roberts Houston and Straub, Williams and Lentz, White Bell Lumber Company, and Yiser Art Center.
So we started with downtown and LowerTown, and I want to continue this to recognize other businesses throughout the community because we do celebrate our businesses here in Paducah. And I would just like to take a couple of minutes here to just talk about how do people really feel about Paducah? Because sometimes I think we wonder. And a prime example of that would be Julie Shaw, who moved here with the Artist Relocation Program, has been a great contributor to LowerTown and to the community as a whole, made a decision that maybe she would sell her business and move back to Colorado. And we were all sad that Julie was leaving because she'd become such an integral part of LowerTown. And an incident happened that changed Julie's opinion of leaving Paducah. Someone ran a stop sign in LowerTown, totaled her car, pushed it up into the driveway of the adjacent property. And Julie said after that happened, and seeing how everyone in Paducah, and especially LowerTown, came to her and helped her in so many ways, she said, I made the decision that I wanted to stay in Paducah. There's no better place to be. So I think that's such a great testimonial about Paducah and how we support each other. Another one happened last night at the Hark Board meeting. Posh Academy wants to move to LowerTown. They came before the Hark Board. And I asked her if I could read this. I am truly overwhelmed by the encouragement and couldn't be happier to be part of this community. Eric and I have worked tirelessly and fearlessly for the past 10 years to gain as much knowledge and understanding about education as we could. Our experiences have led us to pursue a philosophy to early childhood education that is rather new to Paducah. We have continued to keep our eyes on the vision of quality education, working long hours, studying education and leadership, and knowing that our mission was not about us, but about what we could bring to children and families throughout this community. Each day we wake up excited and passionate about what we do. Each day we know that we put one foot in front of the other and continue to make progress. Last night, Eric and I stopped for a moment to turn around and look behind us. We saw that during this journey, we had gained support and others who had faith in what we do. It was a bit surreal. Your support gave us a whole new energy to keep pushing on and offering the best to our community. So that's what we do so well here in Paducah, and we have to be very proud of that. And that's what will make us a real success. So I just wanted to share that. So now we'll go on to, unless you all have any comments.
No, that's what we do. We are a loving community, and any of those folks that the two folks that you read their letters would ask someone to come up to help someone when they're injured. They would say, she's our neighbor. He's our neighbor. To encourage them is what we do. So, we live in a special place.
And I think last night it showed that the city is certainly great at working with new business and helping make their dreams come true. So thank you, Steve, and everyone that was involved with that. Tonight we have Richard Ruth here with us with Barkley Regional Airport Authority for an audit and update for FY 2013. Hi, Richard.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Peterson. I won't take much of your time, but I wanted to bring by a copy of our fiscal 13 audit. It is an unqualified audit, which we're always proud to say, and it does indicate, if you study some of the numbers, some strengthening of our resources over the past 12 months. However, one thing that I like to point out, that even though most of our expansions are funded by FAA grants and in some cases state grants, when that project is finished and that asset is transferred over to the airport's ownership, depreciation begins. And so when you're looking at a couple of $1 million perhaps over a year or two for runway rehabilitation or whatever similar item, when we start chewing off 10 to 15% per year on some of these projects for depreciation, it does leave a hole on the bottom line. That's not cash flow. That's a mythical number, so to speak, but it does have to be recognized. I did leave you two maps in the front of the audit. These are really neat. Eddie Grant, our marketing director, put these together for me. The first one shows what you can do out of Paducah and be at that destination by no later than 1 o'clock local time at that destination. And that's fairly interesting. Mayor, we all love to stay in Paducah, but I might encourage you, given the temperature tonight and tomorrow night, you may want to consider leaving for a day or two in Orlando. The other possibility is international, and as you see that on the second sheet, 15 different destinations that you can access by just one plane change out of Chicago. So that's been quite extraordinarily helpful to us. We're on target for about 40,000 passengers in and out this year. 10% are Chicago market only, which is a growing market. And surprisingly, it's reverse flow, more people coming in than going, originating here, going there. And I'm wondering if this has anything to do with tourism or economic development. The other possibility is that we've seen a growth up to international markets now of 10% on our total passenger flow. Since St. Louis, Memphis, and Nashville have basically lost the international flights. If you want to get to Tokyo, it's just as easy out of Paducah as it is out of Memphis, Nashville, or St. Louis. It's just that one plane change. Over the year, we've had $3 million in ongoing projects. We've re-roofed the terminal building. That's at 99% complete. The appearance did get a lot better with that. We have an enhanced security fence around the airport, primarily for wildlife mitigation, and that's 6 miles of fence that's now 12 feet high. So that should even keep the rabbits out. We have an updated airport layout plan, which will be GIS information based, which will be extraordinarily useful in helping us with other planning. Next year, we're looking at renovation of the airport fire station and updating the 800 megahertz system, so we'll be interested in working with the 911 board people on that one. The only disadvantage probably this year over years past has been that some of the provisions that FAA funding participation is now 90% with FAA instead of 95%, and the state no longer contributes their share of grants for airports with airline service in Kentucky. Effectively, this meant that a 2.5% cost project on our behalf now has gone to 10%. And when we're talking about a $2 million project, rather than coming up with $50,000 local share, it becomes $200,000. That's a big one to bite. I would remind everyone, though, that the grant funds from FAA do come from taxes imposed on airline tickets, cargo, and aircraft fuel. So it's not a general budget line item. It's income paid by the users of the system. If I can answer any questions, I'd be glad to do that and invite you all out for a tour anytime you'd like.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Well, thank you. We'll try to come back and see you again in 6 months.
Thank you, sir.
You have a very
Fly
well-run board, Richard.
Fly United, right, Richard?
Okay, any additions or deletions tonight?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Abraham, please, with the minutes.
I move that the reading of the minutes for November 5th, 2013 City Commission meetings be waived, and that the minutes of said meetings prepared by the city clerk be approved as written.
Second.
Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes? City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kaler.
Aye. We'll go on to motions. Commissioner Galt, please.
I move that the following documents be received and filed. Transit Authority of City of Paducah financial statements with independent auditor's report for the year ended June 30th, 2013. Purchase District Health Department report on audit of financial statements and supplemental schedules for year ended June 30th, 2013.
Second.
Any questions? City Clerk, please.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kaler.
Aye. Okay, we have several, we have one appointment tonight. Whereas, subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I hereby appoint Cynthia B. Jones as a member of the Tree Advisory Board to replace Robert Dwyer, who has resigned. This term will expire on July 26, 2017. Who has that one?
Well, I'm supposed to, but I don't.
It's the second page.
But I can read it now. Okay.
Second page.
Okay. I move the Board of Commissioners approve the action of Mayor Kaler in appointing Cynthia B. Jones as member of the Tree Advisory Board.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kaler.
Aye. I think Cindy will be a nice addition to the Tree Advisory Board as well. Okay, we do have others. I was looking at the cross through there.
Oh, sorry.
Whereas, subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I hereby reappoint Joseph Benberry and David Morrison as members of the Paducah Planning Commission. The terms for Mr. Benberry and Mr. Morrison will expire August 31st, 2017.
I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the action of Mayor Kaler in reappointing Joseph Benberry and David Morrison as members of the Paducah Planning Commission.
Seconded.
Okay. Yes.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Whereas subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I hereby reappoint Johanna Rhodes as a member of the Board of Adjustment. This term will expire August 31st, 2017.
I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the action of Mayor Kayler in reappointing Johanna Rhodes as a member of the Board of Adjustments.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mr. Rhodes, abstain.
Whatever I need to do.
You have to say it.
I have to. I guess No, I'll vote for Johanna to be on the Board of Adjustments. She needs to do something like this. Or win dinner, folks.
How's the cow challenge?
I'll tell you
There you
tomorrow. I'll
go.
tell you in the morning.
You got to say it, man.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye.
All right.
Okay. Whereas subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I hereby appoint Greg Minke to replace Bob Day, whose term has expired. To the Paducah-McCracken County Riverport Authority, Mr. Minke's term will expire September 26, 2017.
I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the action of Mayor Kayler in appointing Greg Minke to the Paducah-McCracken County Riverport Authority.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Under our municipal orders, Commissioner Rhodes, please.
Upon the recommendation of City Manager, the Board of Commissioners of the City of Paducah and other personnel changes on the attached list be approved.
Need a second?
Second.
Cindy.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Commission. We have the maneuverings we have here for your approval are basically related to entering into an acting status in the fire department or coming out of an acting status in the fire department. And you also see a couple of corrections. Unfortunately, we let a couple of incorrect items come through in previous personnel actions, and it's correcting the rate of pay we were using and a previous position and pay table. So this makes that correction.
Any questions? City Clerk? Thank you, Cindy.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Commissioner Wilson, please.
I move that a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Approving and Authorizing the Mayor to Execute the Statement of Compliance with National Bridge Inspection Standards Bridge Posting Requirements for Paducah, Kentucky, certifying bridges within the city limits of Paducah are posted with safe load capacities," be adopted.
Seconded.
Okay.
Read faster than I can walk. Mayor Commission, this is the annual inspection that the Kentucky Department of Transportation actually inspects every bridge that we have in the community, provides us a report. We've got one bridge that does not meet its total capacity, and when it doesn't meet its total capacity, then it needs to be posted. And that bridge is at 24th Street off of 28th Street near Elmwood Court. It crosses Cross Creek, and it's posted at 14 tons.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Rick. City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Now we'll do our ordinances introduction. We do not vote on these. Commissioner Abraham, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Paducah Accepting a 2013 Kentucky Office of Homeland Security Grant Award for the Paducah Police Department and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement and all documents relating thereto with the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security." This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the City of Paducah hereby accepts grant funds in the amount of $32,000 through the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security for 2013 reimbursable grant award to purchase up to 10 handheld radios to be used by the Paducah Police Department. This award does not require a local cash match or in-kind contribution. Further, the mayor is hereby authorized to execute a grant agreement and all documents relating thereto with the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security.
Second.
Hi, Steve.
Hello, good evening. It's pretty straightforward. No cash match for this one.
Those are the best kind.
That's right, 10 radios.
Commissioner Galt, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Section 126-71, off-street parking and loading areas of Chapter 126, zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Paducah, Kentucky. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance is amending Section 126-71, off-street parking and loading areas of Chapter 126, zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of to clarify parking requirements for hotels, motels, and quick-style restaurants. Federal ADA guidelines relating to handicap parking are also addressed.
Second.
This first text amendment is really just a cleanup of an existing section of the ordinance. The first one is the existing ordinance says that we're required one parking per room plus one additional parking space per 100 GFA, and that's it. What we want to do is clarify that to say ballrooms, banquet rooms, meeting rooms, that type of thing. The next section is to where it says 1 per 30 GFA for quick style restaurants, is to actually define that to say of the public dining area. The reason for this, as engineers start preparing site plans, maybe in another state or another county, they look at our zoning regulations and may start to design that parking lot based upon this calculation as they read it. They may design it for the entire structure. The intent of the ordinance is to say, no, it's only the public area, so hopefully this will clarify that, and we won't have engineers overbuilding parking areas for restaurants. The final section of this is to really come into compliance with some ADA requirements. You'll see that we have parking requirements for 151 to 200 parking space parking lots. It goes on all the way over up to 1,000. That's just following the ADA guidelines. There is another section that's proposed to be amended, and that's reducing the length of handicap parking spaces from 20 feet to 18 feet. Currently in the city of Paducah, all parking spaces are allowed to be 18 feet in length. The way it's written right now, if it's a handicap space, you'd actually see the handicap space stick 2 feet out from the actual row of the rest of the parking spaces into the traffic aisle. So that's just really cleaning up an existing section also.
Any questions for Steve?
The length of the handicap parking area right now is longer.
Is 20 feet.
20 feet.
Yes, and all parking in the city of Paducah is allowed to be 18 feet in length.
Right. So that 20 feet it was designed that way for.
Historically, within the city, the original zoning ordinances that were, back in the 70s, all parking spaces were to be 20 feet.
Okay.
Over time, those were amended back to 18 feet to reduce them slightly. The actual handicap regulation was never lessened. What I'm doing is actually requesting to bring that into compliance so you don't have the handicap aisles actually extending out into the traffic ways.
Okay. All right. It's not.
It's still keeping the same width.
Right. Okay.
Requirement.
All right.
And that's 13 feet in width, or for a van accessible, 16 feet in width.
Yeah, bringing that in line 18 is not going to cause a hardship on the.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Steve, what about vans? You've seen the vans that have the
lift.
carrier in the back for the lift.
There's a requirement, an ADA requirement, that a percentage of your handicap accessible spaces have to be van accessible, and that is a 16-foot wide, meaning an 8-foot space, and then the space next to it has to be a minimum of 8 feet. I think it's one space per every 8 handicap spaces have to be van accessible.
That's not what I'm talking about. I've seen the vehicles that have them on the back, on the very back of the van, or do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the.
It's almost like a lift chair. I was behind one yesterday, like a jazzy or a, so you can roll on and lift it up. And it's a transport. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yeah, so those don't stick out farther.
They'd have to fit into the 18-foot space as proposed. I've not looked at that actually, Mayor.
I just wondered if that would make that vehicle stick out farther in length than a standard van if you had that on the back of it,
It probably would obviously stick out a little bit farther, yes.
but not enough to be a problem.
Well, typically the first parking space, especially after you get over a certain number, 4, I believe it is, you have to have a handicap space. So all parking hours are based upon that first handicap space. So if you were going to keep it at 20 feet, then ideally you'd probably want to make all your parking spaces 20 feet because otherwise it would be sticking out into the access aisle, which is required to be 24 feet.
Okay. Probably wouldn't be out any farther than a lot of the dually trucks, the long bed trucks.
No, I wouldn't think so. I don't have the exact measurement. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Rhodes, please.
All right. I move the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Section 126-76, sign regulations of Chapter 126 zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Paducah, Kentucky. This ordinance is summarized as follows, that Section 126-76D, regulations for temporary signs, be amended to strike out references to ordinances that no longer exist. Section 126-76G, signs authorized for R1, R2, R3, NSZ, and R4 zones, is amended to allow places of worship to have electronic message signs provided certain conditions are met.
Second.
Steve?
This amendment is primarily around the churches within our community, the ability to have an electronic message sign. The way it's written right now, that although there may be in a residential zone, if it's not residential in character around them, meaning it's a minimum of 200 feet to a residence, they would be allowed to have electronic message signs. Certainly, public schools within our community are allowed to have them. An example of that is Morgan Elementary on 28th Street. That's the primary reason for this amendment.
Like for churches and schools, do they go dark after school's out, or are they on 24/7, those signs?
I'm not sure. They can certainly, they have the capabilities of going dark.
Mm-hmm.
I know quite often, though, they stay on schools.
Okay. Commissioner Wilson, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Section 106, Convenience and Service Zone B1 of Chapter 126 Zoning, the Code of Ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky. This ordinance is summarized as follows, that Section 106, Convenience and Service Zone B1 of Chapter 126 Zoning of the Code of Ordinance removes variety stores and shoe stores as principally permitted uses and removes service stations as a conditionally permitted use. It adds automobile rental, sales, or service establishments as a conditional use.
Seconded.
The B1 is the convenience and service zone within the city of Paducah. The intent of this is to take out those 3 uses, service stations, drive-in establishments, and other similar but undefined uses out of the list that the Planning Commission approved and actually create a conditional use permit process within the B1 zone. Most zones within the city of Paducah, you do have conditional uses. Within that new conditional use list, you would add automobile rental, sales, or service. So right now we have automobile service. We are adding rental and sales, keeping drive-in establishments within that, and then other similar but undefined uses. What this does, for instance, is allows a automobile sales place the ability to actually apply to the city to locate within the B1 zone. Currently, they cannot do this. This would allow them to do it. Also, they would have to get a conditional use permit. That process is they go to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment. They hold a public hearing where they notify adjacent property owners, take input, and then make a decision on whether or not that use is compatible with surrounding land uses. So this is trying to at least afford the ability or give the ability to property owners or to new businesses to apply.
And this would be both new and used car dealerships?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that conditional use permit also, the Board of Adjustment can actually apply conditions. For instance, if it's located in an area that may be adjacent to residential, they can put conditions on height of signs, height of lights, those types of things.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Sometimes we don't think of, some folks don't think of the infrastructure part of what you guys do as far as encouraging business within the city. Those, adjusting regulations that will give a business, new or business that's been here a while, an opportunity to expand, to do some other things. Those policy changes have to happen for that to happen. So I applaud your efforts in the planning department.
Thank you.
To do that. That's a big move.
Appreciate it.
And I'd like to know how it is that I got to read the one about automobiles. Is that just by luck, Tammy?
Yes.
By luck. Good luck. All right. Providence.
Okay, city manager's report.
It wasn't really luck. Thank you. As I think the community knows, last week we had a young officer, Austin Gill, injured in the line of duty. Seriously injured. Happy to report tonight, although it's been known, it's out in the community, that Austin arrived back in Paducah last night and will be at Lourdes Hospital for a period of time ahead of what will be an extended recovery period. So we ask that everybody keep he and his family in your thoughts and prayers during the period of recuperation. We will soon be entering into negotiations on 3 collective bargaining agreements with 3 of the city unions. So we're have an intense period of labor negotiations, contract negotiations ahead of us. It'll be one of our big projects for the first couple months of next year. So we've been notified by all the unions that they are wanting to commence negotiations for next year. The one of the 3 committees that formed out of the community survey, the Neighborhood Revitalization Committee, I believe completed its work this week, so that process is proceeding, and the other 2 committees will be moving along, and at some point not too far down the road, hopefully the City Commission will take a look at the recommendations of all 3 committees, and we'll take that information and move that forward, hopefully some of it through the budget process, and look to implement at least some changes that the people in the committees have come up with. So that's going very well. I asked Rick Murphy to let me know as soon as he felt he could project a time when we could plan for a ribbon cutting event at the new boat launch. I keep thinking of other ways to describe that. Nonetheless, I think that's the one to go with. We can do that, we think, a week from Friday. I know there had been some wonderment of whether we could do something associated with the river maybe more extensively, but the weather being what it is, we think that we need to probably go forward with some kind of a ribbon cutting and whatever else we can do that meets the conditions of the weather at this time. An alternative for better weather was to wait till spring, but we don't want the river to rise and mess up our clean new boat dock and not have it look so good. So that always being a possibility, we think it's a prudent thing to go forward. So there's an effort underway to organize some kind of an event for a week from Friday, and we'll get information out to the Commission and the community as soon as we have that. With that, we have 2 items for executive session tonight. One is economic development. The other would be proposed or pending litigation.
Thank you. Mayor and Commissioner comments.
Mr. Harold Alston passed away, and I didn't get a chance to go to the funeral or a visitation, but he was a very strong man and very compassionate man. And I literally remember calling him at 3 o'clock in the morning because a teenager was getting ready to do something silly, stupid, dumb, and he came. I mean, I didn't have to ask him twice, and he came and met us at the church. And he wasn't a wallflower. I wasn't the one just doing all the talking, and he gave some different perspective on the situation. And And the young guy turned out all right. You know, that was several years ago. But Mr. Austin was a pioneer in this community, and he will be missed.
And he was one of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
Which is
strong history.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We honored him, what was it, a couple of years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had a great Veterans Day in Paducah. It was a nice parade. We had the rededication of Dolly McNutt Plaza to Dolly McNutt Memorial Plaza. And then the essays by the children. That's always very nice to attend and to hear what those kids write about veterans and their appreciation of them. And it just went on with a service at the courthouse for the veterans there. And then, am I leaving anything out that night? Doug Van Fleet and the community concert and the Lone Oak Middle School Band did a concert, a patriotic concert. So it was a great day in Paducah on Monday. And today we had our anti-bullying task force meeting. We had a good meeting. Carol, do you have any comments on that today?
I believe that was the third meeting.
Fourth
meeting.
Yeah, fourth.
And I think it's coming along.
We decided we needed some committees to work on different portions of community involvement, our involvement in the community with anti-bullying. I think we're going to do a little skit at the Stomping for a Cure at the end of it with some kids. And we decided it was really important to get a youth group involved in this to help us out. So,
before we go, I was sitting here looking out, and I noticed that there were 2 people in the audience tonight that were not paid to be here. I don't know if you noticed that, Mayor, but I just thought maybe we should say thank you to Sharon Greeno and Natalia for coming down. I know that you both were business owners in the community for over 20 years, and we appreciate you sticking it out here with us and staying at the commission meeting. It's always nice to have people in the audience, and we appreciate that.
And they didn't just take their awards and leave.
No, they no. It's always good to see good faces out there, friendly faces. Not that the staff's not, but you know what I mean.
So work on that.
I would just like to mention that Thursday night and Friday, we have about 45 people coming from Lexington to our community to see it. And, you know, we're usually talking about always going and looking to see what other communities are doing. And they're making a tour through Bowling Green, Hopkinsville, and spending the night in Paducah. So it's an opportunity for us to showcase our community to them.
And have Danny back?
Yes, Danny Murphy is the chairman of Commerce Lexington, and I think that was probably one of the reasons why that they are spending the night in Paducah, because he wanted to see, for them to see our community. So it shows someone that didn't choose to move away has kept some really strong roots here in our community.
I'll put a plug in. Richard was here for the airport, and I'm going to put in a plug because I'm in full disclosure. I was an airport board member. Paducah, one of the things that makes Paducah unique is our air service. We have, as you all know, jet service to Chicago. And if you look around the communities that used to have service, they've either fallen by the wayside, like, Jackson, Tennessee, Jonesboro, Arkansas. They no longer have any kind of service. And then you have communities like Owensboro, Marion, Illinois, Cape Girardeau that have now just small 8-passenger or 16-passenger piston-powered or turboprop propeller planes. And I guess what I'm saying is that I know many people say, well, let's just drive to Nashville to get on a plane and go somewhere. Well, it's kind of like the muscles in your body. If you don't use them, you're going to lose them. And we're darn fortunate to have United. They're going to be here for another 2 years. They got the green light from the government. And we ought to support them because it makes Paducah unique. So I put in my plug for my old board.
All right. So who has the executive session?
I have it.
Please.
I move that the board go into closed session for discussion of matters pertaining to the following topics: proposed or pending litigation as permitted by KRS 61.8101, a specific parcel by a proposal by a business entity where a public discussion of the subject matter would jeopardize the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity as permitted by KRS 61.8101.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Kayler?
Aye. And we will not be coming back to make any decisions. Thank you.